The topic is very thrilling, but it's very complex. We start off with one anecdote. 3 days back, in the middle of the night, we got a patient, 37 years old male, who had a sudden onset of chest pain in the middle of the night and brought to the hospital. We did a ECG, it was acute atrial wall MI. Now, a year back, the same patient landed up previously into our hospital, had a rest angina. We did an angiogram. The middle portion of the left anterior descending artery was blocked. 99% we put a stent. He went back to Dubai, stopped taking medications and eating a lot of fat, red meat, started smoking, and again came 3 days back into the night. We did a clot aspiration. His proximal LAD was blocked. We put a stent. The patient is absolutely fine. The problem is that how do we explain to his wife that he suffered 2 events? How do we explain it? It's a common language. There's a fat, he's taking fatty meals, this is a fatty gruel, gets accumulated into the blood vessels, it occludes the blood vessels. Suddenly one day, the plaque would rupture and would occlude the artery. How does this the heart attack would happen? Was this so simple? I'll try to make it simple. This topic is not that simple. The way I try to explain it to that gentle lady in the middle of the night. If you go back into 80s, the atherosclerosis was taught as a very simple topic of accumulation of lipids into the blood vessels. The 80s went off. In the 90s, especially in the Indian setup, I'll say we were in the early part of our career in 90s. The Indian continent, the people started noticing the India population as far as the incidence of heart disease is concerned. Thanks to Dr. Reddy from Walden Institute, he did a pioneering work in epidemiology and coronary artery disease. Now, we as a part of PGI was a project on seeing infection as a part of inflammation into atherosclerosis, and we published few data on chlamydia pneumonia as a part of infectious process into inflammation. So we could not create a cause and effect relationship into atherosclerosis. What happened in the late 90s was that the inflammation and immunology came in together. Cytokines, tumor necrosis factor, interleukin. This is a very tough topic. If you ask the residents sitting out here, starting from Dr. Datta to me, to all the residents sitting down, the moment the cytokines, immunokines, tumor necrosis factor comes, it becomes a horrendous effort. You don't remember it. How does the things happen? All people keep on speaking metal proteinases, cytokines, interleukins. How does this happen? What is this? This is just a complex conundrum which is very difficult to understand. That's the second thing. The third thing which happened in the early the statin came. But still, there's a controversy of the same way the recent controversy in cholesterol. The lot of topic is revolving in what cell. Cholesterol is not a molecule which is implicated into atherosclerosis these days. The same way the statins had their bad days and their good days. They decrease the lipids, but still in the people who have got a normal lipid levels, they are anti-inflammatory, wonderful inflammatory. Now the question arises that there are certain subset of patients with maximum tolerated doses of statins. Still the patients suffer from the cardiovascular events. There are two catches to it. One is whether we have been able to achieve the adequate level of the lipids which we expect it to be going down. Say the level of 70 milligram deciliter in an established coronary artery disease. Are we able to achieve statin levels of the cholesterols, lipids with these drugs? To majority of the cases, with such a high dose of the statins, it becomes very difficult because the side effects are tremendous. So came the concept of looking at certain other molecules, we'll combine it together and create a kind of a combination of the lipid-lowering therapies so that we are able to decrease the cardiovascular events. But the catch into this is that still the second line therapies, which call it as a novel markers in inflammation, and the therapies targeted at it do not have a large database to substantiate what we are doing. Now, cardiovascular epidemiology. It is the leading cause of the death globally as well as in India. We did a study, we published data from Uttarakhand last year, sir, into Indian Heart Journal. In our this place, the established heart disease is to the tune of 15% in the urban population, somewhere around 8% into this population, sir. And this year, our data is coming into Indian Heart Journal, where in women we start looking at the data into women, still it is very high. Now, the important part was this is happening in young patients. Can somebody help me with the pointer? This is happening into the young patients which are less than 40 years of age. Now, these are the risk factors, conventional risk factors: diabetes, lipids, hypertension, thrombotic factors, inflammatory, demography, genetic. What we are trying to focus is on inflammatory disorders. This is a wonderful. The classical teaching, if Dr. Datta would remember and Dr. Anita would remember, is 50% of the heart attacks would happen into the blood vessels which are less than 50% blocked. The conventional teaching that the major artery blocker and leading on to MI is the same way as the MI or the atherosclerotic disease or the events would happen in 60% of the times would happen into the patients which would have a very minimal or less number of risk factors. If you do a conventional assay of the risk factors, you won't find the lipids are absolutely alright, they are not diabetic, they are not hypertensive, still they suffer a heart disease. And in Indian scenario, absolutely, the lipid levels are absolutely fine, triglycerides are high and HDL is low. And then the people started looking at inflammatory markers and came up with a very novel inflammatory factor, highly sensitive to C-reactive protein. C-reactive protein is a marker of inflammation, acute inflammation, very high levels. But how does it come into cardiology? In chronic inflammation, the levels in cardiology with highly sensitive identification markers to the tune of 1 to 2, more than 3 milligram deciliter falls into a very high risk group. And if you add up it to the LDL cholesterol, the risk enhances tremendously. Even in those subset of patients where the C-reactive protein is high, but LDL is normal, risk is still very high. The current guidelines would say the use of highly sensitive C-reactive protein is therefore risk stratifying the atherosclerotic patients. Now, everything happens into the coronary vessel and nobody has seen a coronary vessel. Now, this is a diagram which I have taken it from a Braunwald classical teaching. This is everything about the inflammation, atherosclerosis, wonderful animations. I chose the presentation because I couldn't create animations out of it. I've stopped using the company slides for a few years. We try to create our own data bank for that. I'll come to that. So this is the lumen of the coronary vessel. This is the endothelium, intima, media, and all the things happen there. You'll come back. Now, something they try to create, but the starting point was not this. Starting point is this. The starting point of this slide would have been this. When you eat a fatty meal, that the molecule which is a culprit is a LDL cholesterol particle. It's not the monocyte. The LDL particle, what happens is that through this endothelial junctions would translocate and go into the intima. And this is the particle which is the main culprit. Now, what will happen to this LDL particle? The moment it goes into the intima, it gets oxidized, and glycation happens, and it excites our inflammatory process or inflammatory cytokines. We'll go back. Once it comes back into the intima, it gets converted to an oxidized LDL particle. Now it releases inflammatory cytokines. It releases inflammatory cytokines. And what do the inflammatory cytokines do? Now these inflammatory cytokines would just generate the cytokines which will excite the adhesion molecules, and usually these blood cells, monocytes, leukocytes just flow into the coronary vessel. They don't get across the intima, free endothelium into the intima. They are not supposed to go through it. They develop adhesion molecules because of this oxidized LDL particle, and this monocyte will go in. So we have got an oxidized LDL, and we have got this gentleman called monocyte into the intima. There are lethal combinations. Still, what will happen? Now this again will excite the cytokines and will cause squenger receptors to go in and create the earliest marker. This is called as a foam cell. This is what is happening. So they'll create a vicious circle of the LDL particle getting converted into oxidized LDL particle, and then these inflammatory markers creating a vicious circle, and this monocyte will engulf through the squenger receptors, engulf the oxidized LDL and get converted into a plaque, earliest form of plaque. So Dr. God nicely implicated this nuclear factor kappa. This is a beta cell. This is basically a monocyte type B or B lymphocyte which gets activated and creates a kind of inflammatory pathway which is implicated into pathophysiology of the atherosclerosis, and then another pathway, kynurenine pathway. All the inflammatory therapies which we are targeting, whether into the other branches of medicines or into the cardiology, are trying to focus on these two pathways. Majority of the work is being done on this pathway, nuclear factor kappa. This is an activated enhancer B cell. So you can act on this, you can act on this, you can act on this pathway. No. This is a curcumin. This is an Indian style. Very few data is available on curcumin in worldwide. If you put all the patients together, especially in cardiology, not more than 1,000 patients have been shown a tangible data. There's a data on reduction in LDL, there's a data on increase in HDL, there's a data on the preventive of lipid peroxidation. But we are yet to see a large database. I was talking to the persons in Ahmedabad. There are very nice two papers this time came in NEJM on human monoclonal antibodies, alirocumab and evolocumab. This is the only data till now proven and FDA approved for using as an anti-inflammatory agents for lipid-lowering therapy. When we choose a lipid-lowering therapy, Dr. Datta, what the criteria are taken? You just can't put any molecule into practice. I don't know, but FDA follows a Cox principle, where you need to have a molecule of proven efficacy. The surrogate markers are reduction in LDL cholesterol and so on and so forth. But the cardiovascular outcomes need to be substantiated. That's a catch where the curcumin will come into. We need to have a large data for curcumin to support it. So when the statins came in 80s, we had a statins trial for it. We were able to decrease the LDL cholesterol, but the FDA approval was given for statins, but the data generation was subsequently over a period of time on reduction in hard endpoints of major adverse cardiac events of cardiovascular mortality. Now, this is the second after the statins. In 2015, the second data has been generated for the other molecules, not for this molecule, where they have approved this evolocumab and alirocumab and evolocumab. These are the human monoclonal antibodies, anti-inflammatories, acting on PCSK pathway, with the premise that the molecules will be used and they should be given a benefit. They have been advised in the familial homozygous hypercholesterolemia, the syndromes of hypercholesterolemia, where you need to give statins, bring the statins to the dramatically low levels to cut down the cardiovascular events. I searched through all the literature for curcumin. I could not come across any of the data. It's a wonderful molecule, sir. But the data generation needs a tremendous amount of data. I don't know whether you are going to introduce into the cardiology into the Indian setup, but the data on hard endpoints is very smallish, and we need a large database to do it, sir. The other pathway which would help us is a 3-hydroxyalphanilic acid. The effects are on inflammation, on lipid metabolism, and on reduction in this. The nuclear factor kappa for beta cells, this has been nicely explained in the previous slides by Dr. Gott, so I will not explain them. Other therapies which we are trying, there's a two trials going on, methotrexate and others by Dr. P.M. Redkar and group, the other is by Peter Levy. They're trying to look at these anti-inflammatory molecules for reducing the inflammation, but still the data is very minuscule and small. The target for the inflammation as a target for lowering the cardiovascular risk is tremendously promising, sir. But as far as the data generation is concerned, still we are far away from getting the tangible data to reduce the cardiovascular mortality. The data is very small. Thank you very much.